Hello.
Hello.
So I was thinking in this episode we can talk about two things. Like first about the visual style of Kabir Singh. It and even Arjun Reddy, to be very honest. Yeah. Um, just to make it easy, we'll start with just the vibe of it. Like, how does it feel to us? In terms of the aesthetic compared to other movies that we see, and then if we are up for it, we can even try to show some visuals, or just try to be as rigorous as we can. And I think that is also connected to at least my anticipation for Animal. So I thought we can also just bring up Animal for a bit later as well. So, what did you think about the visual style of Kabir Singh? Anything that stood out to you?
Yeah. So me and Avi were talking about this earlier today. We were talking about how we were talking about the casting of we spoke about this in the last episode, but we were talking about the casting of Shahid Kapoor in that and Ranbir Kapoor in this and the other cast and how it's very well cast, but also how it seems like it's Sandeep's thing to take actors that are conventionally very good or like mainstream actors, mainstream good actors, good looking actors, and kind of make them do different things. So, um, and we were talking about that, and I remember that the main thing that popped in my head was that I kind of have a theory that one thing that's very important in design and in movies is how official something looks. So even if something is subversive, it's very important how official it looks. Um, and this is a very strange concept because official doesn't exactly mean good looking or bad looking, but it just means how specific does it look? Like, is the casting a little bit off, or do you think, or does it seem that these people had infinite money and they casted just the right people? So in that, and I think something is, you can also not just extend the conversation me and Avi were having about casting, you can also extend it to cinematography. And there is a way in which the cinematography for Animal, I would not call it artsy at all. I would call it very official. It seems very official. It seems like it's made using the same raw material or raw camera lenses as the rest of Bollywood. It doesn't seem low budget, or it doesn't seem that they've cut any corners. It does not even seem that they've tried to be more artistic. Um, with the visual. They seem like they've used very, I don't want to say standard, but it just seems official. It just seems that they've used the official um type of lens, focal length, things like that. And I think that is very important when telling an unconventional story. Um, and I can talk more about that, but I think in casting and in cinematography, I feel like not only is it, if I had to capture what I meant as my impression of Animal's camera work, it's that it seems very official.
Is that another way of saying that it's like not new to you? Like you've seen it before, like nothing stands out? Is that what you're saying about the visual style?
No, not exactly. It seems like there's no tech glitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like even with Brahmastra, which was a similar cast, similar type of cast, similar budget, Brahmastra did not seem official. It seemed a little off for some reason. Whereas Marvel, especially I think early Marvel, like Marvel, I think the
Iron Man.
Iron Man, yeah, that seemed official, more official than the rest. And I can get to where this word even comes from. It's not a word, I think that's the exact word, but at least that's my initial thoughts. But tell me what you think. I can build
Right.
off of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I mean, I definitely did not think that uh it is official, at least if I understand the word. I don't know, but also I feel like you will explain the word more in a bit anyway. But yeah, I didn't like, I would not say that the vibe was like of an official kind of thing, because I think for me official kind of implies that it would be somewhat familiar to me. And I definitely think that I noticed the visual style when I watched the movie for the first time, because I was like, this is definitely like, I'm not used to this. Like, this feels off. And when I say off, I don't mean that like, oh, this feels bad. It was like, this feels like different than what I've expected. And I think that's because I would argue that this is like shot in a, like, not in an aesthetic way or something. Like, by that I mean to say that, like, for example, there are some movies which seem to be super driven by um either the cinematographer, in the sense that there's a lot of camera movements which are very slick and which are designed very immaculately. Think like Martin Scorsese movies, like if you think Goodfella. In fact, pretty much everything. अभी मैंने Killers of the Flower Moon देखी, उसमें भी of Martin Scorsese, he has long, um, push-ins, or or camera going back or panning Wes Anderson में ज्यादा होती है. तो या तो वैसा होता है, या आई वुड से इन बॉलीवुड टिपिकली ये स्टैंडर्ड विजुअल स्टाइल वुड बी लेस cinematographer driven, more like just production design driven, where
Mm.
it'll just be that the set is beautiful, set is very detailed, it's kind of very rich, like if you think about Karan Johar or Sanjay Leela Bhansali kind of movies. uh, and the reason those are good comparables are those are the high budget movie like Kabir Singh, because unless I'm wrong, like this is budget is probably over 50 crores. I think you should fact check
Yeah,
that, but it's definitely an expensive movie. And also, I
mm,
think you were wrong when you said it's the same as Brahmastra. Brahmastra is wildly more expensive than Kabir Singh.
yeah,
And still, it does look weird. I do think some shots in Brahmastra don't look like a formal kind of thing you would expect. But
yeah.
anyway, so I definitely thought that this is offbeat visual style. And the reason I think is because there is not like a design to it. Like, I don't think there is a design to the movements of the camera, or there's a design to the framing. Some will be close-ups, some will be like either too wide, or some will be medium. Like that, it doesn't seem like कि एक philosophy hai of how the camera should work when the movie is being made. It seems like the shots are designed really according to the scene. Like the person, I don't think the director has a philosophy, okay, of this is how I shoot things, and that's how it will transpire into the movie. Honestly, even when people, I feel like Karan Johar and Sanjay Leela Bhansali, their set design or like their leanings towards color, etc., are subconscious, all like are probably subconscious. वो भी ऐसे philosophy के हिसाब से नहीं चलते हैं. But this one definitely seems like it was like on the moment they just decided how they should shoot it. And I think the reason that is cool is because uh it like there's a bunch of like there's a lot of money in the movie. So if there is a considerable budget in the movie, then you might have expected he would try to make a certain visual style so that it looks grand. It doesn't look grand. And I think and that's so cool because the themes are very grand, the character is very grand, like the rage is very grand. So there's this like kind of dissonance between like how big the themes of the movie are and how active and like not violent but like emotional he is. But the visual style is like very raw and like it's just I think the only formal style they use is probably slow mo, like whenever he walks and run, like that is slow mo. But other than that, like there's no visual theme that runs through the movie, and I think that's very cool. And I think that's why I'm excited about Animal also, because Animal, the budget is going to be is much higher. I think it's 200 crores or something. And even with that budget, the trailer doesn't look कि बहुत ही designed है. um, which is cool. Like if you have so much emotion, so much violence, but you don't design it too immaculately, I like that because that shows the strength of the story. That if someone watches the movie and likes it, it's not because of, oh, the set design was really good. It's because they were into the story and the character, which I think makes movies rich anyways, like the character at the end of the day. I think you're muted.
Yeah, I think something doesn't need to look like the money. I don't think it needs to go into making everything look grand. It needs to go into making sure everything looks official. Um, I think what I mean by this is two things. If you look at a movie like Bombay Velvet, even though the script might be fine, the the final result was, I don't think, official. It felt a little off. Ranbir Kapoor ka accent was just a little off. Anushka Sharma's acting was just a little off. All the elements were just a little off. And I was watching a Marathi film that I sent in our group, which was about the lady who moves to Mumbai, and in order to make sure that her son goes to school, she becomes like a model for a painting school. एंड मैं उसका मराठी का ऑब्वियसली मराठी में तो नहीं देख रहा था, मैं हिंदी का डब्ड वर्जन देख रहा था. पूरी नहीं देखी, थोड़ी देखी. एंड द डबिंग इज शिट. लाइक इट्स ऑफ टाइम, it's bad acting. I, as someone, it's not that I've directed actors a lot, but I could tell that in the simple ways also, it's off. Forget creativity. It's just not spot on. And with Brahmastra also, with some of the dialogues, it just feels a little off. I think isme a lot of money has gone into getting stuff just right. Like if you look at the cast, it's a very expensive cast. So I'm sure a lot of money went into that. I think he's probably shot things multiple times. And I think overall just the length of the movie that he's edited down to, I think it's just more like, I think there's just more stuff being recorded. But I think what I like about Sandeep Reddy Vanga is that he's more official than Anurag Kashyap, and I'll just try to bring about this point in 1 second. So the first time I was hit by this idea was that I was in Philadelphia near our campus. I was in Clark Park. There was something happening in Clark Park, and it was like some event with different stalls. And I went to the stall that was like talking about Black Jesus. It was talking about how Jesus was black, and they had a Bible, they had books, they were wearing like a dress. And I looked at the book and I looked at the pamphlets and the design, like just some school maybe would design a poster or a flyer for something. The design was off in the sense it was a bit pixelated. The font was like some shit Comic Sans font. The quality was bad. So it was in the no, efficiency things, not in the philosophy things or the correctness things. Like I did not believe that Jesus was black because the design seemed unofficial. It just felt bad. And some other time I think that day or the next day I went to the church near our campus, and I noticed that it was just beautiful, right? The design of the church was beautiful, the stained glass was beautiful, everything was just beautiful, and it just felt like spot on. And then I realized that even without knowing the actual truth or science of whether Jesus was white or black, I had accepted in my head that Jesus was by default white just because of how official and fine-tuned the design was. And I think this is true of a lot of things, right? We think that storytelling is important, and like truth is some abstract thing. But I think the design and the officialness of something goes a really long way. And you can see this even in a debate, right? Some people who don't speak a certain way, they just get less convincing, they seem less convincing because they're not articulate or speaking. Like if someone mispronounces a few words in India, like you already start discrediting that person in some way. So usi ka I think ye next level hai. I know you were
Is
not a
Arjun
huge fan
Reddy
of
official? Does Arjun Reddy look official to you?
um so Kabir Singh does.
Mm-hmm.
Does Arjun Reddy look official? Not enough. Like, I think if I had seen Arjun Reddy, if and Kabir Singh did not exist, I would definitely see that there's a spark of something here. The same way I saw that there's a spark of something in Black Jesus, right? Maybe Jesus is black, but I don't think it I think that
Yeah,
sense of
okay. I think so. I think what you need, okay, so I think let's test. I think we need to test what you're saying, because I don't think you want to say what you're meaning, because what you mean is basically just the budget. Because Arjun Reddy was 5 crores and Kabir Singh was 60 crores. So if Arjun Reddy doesn't look official, and you're right, I don't think it looks official the way you're describing it. Kabir Singh does look official the way you're describing it. Then it would mean that you are just implying that there's a higher budget there. But I don't think you want to say that. So how, how would you react to that? That basically, like, there's a big budget difference. Presumably pretty sure cameras were different, and plus, if you have a studio like T-Series helping you, you probably have top level equipment. I mean, pretty much Arjun Reddy's made with money that his brother sent him, and you told me that he might have sold land or something. So it's definitely scrappy, right? So, and I think it's just the budget. So I don't think like there's anything else. Do you think there's something beyond the budget, which makes it official? Because I think it's just the budget.
नहीं यार, I think there's a little bit more to it, and I know थोड़ा सा what I'm saying sounds imprecise, and it might actually be because I'm wrong. But at the very least, Satya seemed very official. Um, it was made on a lower budget than a lot of Ram Gopal Verma's recent movies. I haven't seen his recent movies, but I think they're very far from official. Um, and I think this has something to do with how within the mainstream it is. So, like, I do believe in this point very, very strongly that in order to change or do have some impact in an industry, um, it needs to be a combination of an inside voice and an outside voice. Um, and there is this way in which Ram Gopal Verma's movies today are functioning like they're too outside the norm. And something like Satya was actually right, I think, in my view. It was a weird insider outsider mix where it felt like, I don't know उस moment में क्या था, but जब मैंने देखा, it felt like a mainstream famous movie, almost like Sholay, but with the spark of like, everyone is kind of new, the music is new, things like that. And I think Anurag Kashyap may, even if you give him more money, he's just not able to make an official movie. He's incapable of making an official movie. Even though, he's a Mumbai insider, he's been in Mumbai for longer than Sandeep Reddy Vanga. If I give him a lot of money, वो in some ways I think incapable है वो करने का. With the rare exception, Man Marziyan seemed a little official to me. But if you look at Gangs of Wasseypur, we thoda sa, but a lot of his other stuff like Raman Raghav, I don't think I would. Whereas this guy is actually an outsider, and within a few years, he's made a movie that I think it pushes a lot of things. The elements will be very new. But if someone did a blind test of trailers, they would not be able to tell कि this is an independent director, a cult director, Sandeep Reddy Manga. This could kind of, and I think ये मैं थोड़ा notice भी कर रहा हूँ. A lot of people when I show them this trailer, they don't know who the director is. And even with Kabir Singh, not a lot of people have gone into who Kabir Singh is, जितना they went into with Anurag Kashyap. And I think ये थोड़ा जरूरी होता है where to an audience you need to almost fool them कि ये mainstream है या ये indie है. And the officialness is almost like you need to play both the cards. And I think what he's doing is he's making it seem like this official movie. It has Anil Kapoor in it, this person, that person. ये मतलब uh, normal movie है ये almost. But उसके पीछे, there's all this like power. Like he's making an A-rated movie with Anil Kapoor. When has that happened before? So ये अच्छा balance खेल रहा है मुझे लगता है. I think Imtiaz Ali does this very well or better than most people. Like Highway was like dealing with sensitive topics, but if you take a step back, it doesn't seem like कोई indie director ने बनाई है. It seems like ये थोड़ा mainstream के अंदर ही है. And that's kind of what I mean, that in order to like the somewhere you need to compromise, or like somewhere it needs to seem that it's a mix of an inside and outside game.
I see. Yeah, I think that is an interesting point, that it's basically a combination of the budget and how mainstream it is, or it appears. I think, yeah, it actually has to do with how mainstream it appears. um, which I think is actually very cool. You're right. I think like if you come off as being in the mainstream, but you're subverting uh, the audience's expectations, I think like that's I mean you're doing great, right? Because then you're getting a lot of attention and you're able to show people something new. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you're absolutely right that Imtiaz Ali does as well. I think Raju Hirani does it very well. I think Raju Hirani though I think does it deceptively well because I think you don't even realize that he is subverting anything. Like he doesn't even come off as subverting anything. Whereas Imtiaz Ali and Sandeep Wanga are very loud on how they're subverting. Like Wanga is clearly like the rage that he's so interested in about the rage of people that he's curious about. Or Imtiaz Ali, maybe he looks at like the fakir types or like nomadic kind of vibe of people, like things he's curious about. Like those are pretty apparent and you can tell he's offbeat, but I think Raju Ran doesn't even come off as offbeat. So yeah, I think you're right. That's a very cool metric of looking at um good movies. Yeah, I used to think that Zoya Akhtar did it. I used to think that she is subverting something, but honestly, I don't think she's subverting anything. I just think she's making movies about rich people, and like that's what you would expect if you put rich people in a story. Like I don't like it's not surprising that like money-minded investment banker meets one person who changes his attitude about life. Like I think that's pretty like um and I mean I will still maintain I really like the movie. I don't know what it does to me when I watch it that I really like Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, but I feel like whatever she's written is not subverting anything. I feel like Lakshya is subverting something, I guess, but
Even Made in Heaven में she's kind of trying to have this critical commentary on like Delhi people. Um,
mm-hmm.
like she's thoda sa trying to show how none of these marriages are actually good, and like with money things don't get better and things like that. And
Yeah.
I think like I like Made in Heaven a lot. But one other thing, and while you were saying this, I just realized I don't remember Anurag Kashyap and Ranbir Kapoor ever doing any interviews together around Bombay Velvet.
So Ranbir Kapoor has mentioned in one or two interviews I saw like that it was a terrible movie. Like he was like
Yeah,
the movie came out terribly.
yeah,
And I mean, I was also thinking about this today with Animal. I was like in all the Animal promotions with Bobby Deol and Ranbir, both of them. No, not Ranbir Kapoor, only Bobby Deol is like the movie is so good. Like I've been
yeah,
shown so well. And then Pranay Vanga is like I've seen the movie 5 6 times, and I've like it's like because interviewers were asking him about the length, and him and Sandeep Vanga both were like, I think the runtime is long, but I think it's very compelling. I've seen the
yeah,
edit. And then Pranay was like, bro, I know my brother. Like if Sandeep thought anything was boring, he would have removed it himself. So
yeah,
when I realized that, I was like, actually, that's so true about how far the actor is from the edit. The actor really does not know how the movie is going to look.
yeah,
Like, unless he has a big say. I think Amir Khan is supposed to have a lot of say in the movies he
yeah.
makes. And so I was thinking like Bombay Velvet might have been something like Ranveer didn't know how the edit is going to be, and
I
so he
mean,
makes
dude,
the movie, and then he
yeah,
watches it and he's like, "This is
yeah,
shit." So
yeah.
but I have not seen Bombay Velvet. I've also not seen yeah, I've also not seen
The
Made in Heaven. Yeah.
the editor of Bombay Velvet is the same as the editor of Taxi Driver. So it's
What?
yeah,
Wow, really?
yeah.
Oh, wow. Mhm.
But this is a very important point. Even I noticed it that this guy में थोड़ा इतना confidence है that promotions में he's saying that this is like the best father and son love story. I can at least guarantee that.
Yeah.
Or he's saying making superlative statements and कह रहे इतना तो मैं guarantee कर रहा हूँ. And the in the promotions also like Ranbir is there, all these people are there, they're all behind it. Whereas with Bombay Velvet, I don't remember a single interview with Ranbir Kapoor and Anurag Kashyap, and I think this shit kind of matters. Like I think it matters because there is this air of um I think there is this air of confidence and kind of being in the center of the industry. Like the animal release is in the center of the film industry. It's not happening outside in any way. Even though
100%. Yeah.
Bombay Velvet had Karan Johar in it, it had Ranbir Kapoor. मैंने कोई रणबीर कपूर का इंटरव्यू नहीं देखा where they're like backing the film, they're like this is going to be a good film. um
Mhm.
So वो है, and I don't know, I think that's very important. Um,
I feel like oh wow. So I'm just looking. Even Kabir Singh was actually an A-rated movie, because in interviews for Animal also they've been mentioning that, oh, this is an A-rated movie, and like he was apparently not happy with the production with T series for Kabir Singh, but then Gulshan or Bhushan, whichever one is alive now, he convinced Sandeep Wanga by saying, "Ki, dude, you made 390 crores in your movie in Bollywood. Why would you go back to the like? Why do you want to go back to the Telugu industry?" Because he wanted to go back to the Telugu industry because he was not happy with how things were produced. And apparently that's how the brother got involved for Animal.
mm,
Because he was like, bro, you just because Gulshan Kumar was like, you can handle the production, don't worry about it. But if you can
mm,
make such a if you know the pulse of Hindi movies, you should but of the Hindi audience, then you should just make a Hindi movie, and that's how he got convinced. But the next two he's making, I think, are Telugu movies. But I think you're right. Like operating from inside and subverting is so cool. And like and listen, he's made like two or three features. Like, and I'm saying two or three because he might have made one when he was in film school or something. But features तो कम ही बनाए होंगे उसने.
yeah,
And just um and this is relevant to the Kabir Singh exegesis or something, because that is the movie which brought him into the mainstream. Presume some to some extent even Arjun Reddy is the one that brought him, because Arjun Reddy got him the Hindi movie, and then he made Kabir Singh, and then Kabir Singh's hit is just like now is like he can basically
yeah,
he understands the pulse. And I remember in Pranay Reddy Vanga's interview for Animal, Pranay was like, one of the things that Gulshan Kumar told Sandeep was like, dude, you understand the pulse of the Hindi audience so well, like you definitely have something. And I was like, I don't even know if it's like knowing the pulse of Hindi audience. It's like pulse of knowing like people, like it's like pulse of knowing like a pulse of the human audience or something like that. Like
yeah,
I feel like it's definitely touching something very abstract, like very deep into what people are curious about. And I think it has to do with something along the lines of the rage of um, people, because he mentioned, because in the interview Sandeep was doing for Animal, he was like fully off, like he was not talking proper at all. He was very quiet, giving 2 3 word answers and putting the interviewer off. But the one question he was very interested in was like, one of the ladies was like, so what interests you about the rage of this character? And then Sandeep is like, I think everyone has this rage in them that they're trying to bring out. And then
mm,
he started smiling, and he was like taking interest in the interview, with that answer of like, don't you think everyone has a lot of rage? And he's like, kada means in Telugu it's like henna, like. And so I think he's touching, like he's passionate about something specific for sure. And the
yeah. Let
next
yeah,
movie with Prabhas is called Spirit. So I'm sure वो भी कुछ ऐसा ही होगा कि spirit of the person से related होगा ना, तो वो भी थोड़ा passionate ही होगा.
yeah, yeah. Let's talk a lot more about this in the next episode. Let me send you another Zoom link. Let's cut this off, but let's continue this in the next episode.
Talk about what?
I have a few thoughts on this. I think we should
Okay.
talk more about rage.
Yep.
ठीक है, cool.